What's up, guys? Welcome to Knockers on the Bottom. I'm your host, Jay Mill. Jay Miller, if you like. So let's get into it. So the Cowboys, as always, are dragging their feet. They haven't made any decision in their head coaching search, and they're kind of pulling a fast one on us, right? They got Brian Schottenheimer out here interviewing. They got Leslie Frazier out here interviewing, and I don't have anything against Leslie Frazier. But that's clearly a Rooney Rule interview. Like, you're not even doing your due diligence on the coaches who are minorities, who might be worth an interview. Like, for example, I'd rather interview Aaron Glenn, right? He's a minority, but he's a real candidate. Like, he legitimately can do something for your franchise. He legitimately can do something for your team. That's why people want him, right? So interviewing somebody like Leslie Frazier, who's just like an assistant, and I want to say he's an assistant on like Seattle's staff right now. I could be wrong about that, but basically he's an assistant coach on a random staff that has been a head coach at some point. So most people looking at it, if you're looking at it from the NFL's perspective, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, Leslie Frazier, legitimate head coaching, candidate. He coached the Vikings years ago. Yeah, of course that's legit. But that's not a legit candidate. And why waste your time interviewing someone if you're not legitimately considering them? And it's because Jerry Jones knows exactly who he wants, which, in my opinion, is a cross between Kellen Moore, Jason Witten, and Brian Schottenheimer, which are all very underwhelming. Maybe not Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore is a little less underwhelming. Jason Witten is a high school coach, and he needs a lot more time and a lot more seasoning. Brian Schottenheimer seems like the type of person who would allow Jason Witten to be on his staff and allow the Joneses to meddle like they like to do. So they probably really enjoy a candidate like that will let them, control everything like they do right now. So it's just weird, right? But let's take a look at what we think, because regardless of who the coach is, the Cowboys have some very glaring needs. So I feel like before we get into any end of the season reviews, which we'll be getting here after the Super Bowl, post Super Bowl, we'll get into position by position reviews. I'll still have film for you guys at that point. I'll still break down, the receivers, running backs, quarterbacks, that'll just be coming. But until we hire a coach, hey, no need to go through all that. But as far as what the Cowboys need this offseason, so I think for me, the top three priorities are running back, and not just any running back. And that doesn't mean I want Ashton Genty, although I wouldn't be mad at Ashton Genty, bro. They need explosiveness on offense, right? Brandon Cooks 4.33, but he's also like 4'2". So even though he can run fast, he's tiny. Deuce Vaughn's got a little bit of juice, but he should be your third or fourth back. But he did show well in his last bit of snaps there. He actually played pretty okay. And then that's pretty much it. CeeDee Lamb is CeeDee Lamb, right? We're not talking about him. And Kevontae Turpin does add some juice on offense as well. But they need a legit juice player or two on offense. So if I'm looking at it, when I come out of draft day, I need an explosive running back, no matter what round I get him in. And I need an explosive receiver early, right? Those are the top two. And then I said three. So the third one, I really don't think the Cowboys are going to spend the type of money it takes to keep Osa Odighizuwa. So I think they need a defensive tackle. Now, you can go defensive tackle in the sense of you need a 3 technique to pair with your 1 technique. If you guys are fans of me and you don't understand the difference between the two, I'll give you a little quick overview. So your 1 technique is your guy that's like your trash can full of dirt, right? Your Vince Wilfork. from the Patriots. You know, your guy that basically commands double teams, holds the line of scrimmage, doesn't allow teams to really run up the middle, i.e. Mozzie Smith. That's what we would have wanted him to be this year. I actually think he had a good, let's say, second half of the season. So he showed some development, which is awesome. And let's hope that going into the offseason that continues. Third year is a big year for especially linemen. And hopefully he, continues on and has a really nice, productive third year. So that's your one technique. Your three technique is your person that gets up the field, right? Your penetrator, your disruptor. So it doesn't necessarily always have to be in the pass game, although we think of our great three techniques in the pass game. We think of our Aaron Donalds. We think of our Warren Sapps. We think of our, to be more current, Jalen Carters, right? For the Cowboys specifically, Osa Odighizuwa. That's your guy that's penetrating up the field. He's getting up there on passing downs, also on running downs. He's causing problems for blockers on the move. They can't get a hand on him. He's your more athletic interior player, right? So the Cowboys could go opt for one technique and a three technique, right? But in this draft, even though we haven't gotten into lots of draft talk, I've got to take a look to see how many actual three techniques we have that are worth, a day 1 or 2 grade. We might be starting to look at that day 3 or late day 2. So we're talking 3rd round, 4th round, right? So the Cowboys could opt to pair another one technique with Mozzie Smith. Some people are talking about, hey, we'll get a one technique early on day 1 or early on day 2 and Mozzie Smith sit down. I don't know if that's necessarily going to be the case because I'm aging myself here. So some of y'all, hey, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button if y'all know what I'm about to talk about here. But the Vikings used to have Pat Williams and Kevin Williams, right? Smack those two dudes right in the middle, right? And they would just stop everything. They were beasts. The Commanders have Payne and Allen now, right? So technically there's 1's a 1, 1's a 3. They're interchangeable. They both will play different ways. But like you can pair two guys in there who are just not easy to move. Whether they're 1, whether they're 3, it doesn't really matter. Just don't be easy to move. Cause the offense. This is a rock in a river, right? These two guys are a rock in a river. Everything goes around them. Nothing can go through them. We can't move them. It's just, sorry. And that's what the Cowboys could be looking to do. Now, it would be nice to know who the defensive coordinator is, right? Because if you have a Rob Marinelli or if you have a Dan Quinn, you're more so get up the field, and stop the run on the way to the quarterback, right? So if you go into the draft and you draft 2 trash cans full of dirt and you stick them right in the middle of your defense, but your defensive coordinator wants this type of play, you're going to end up with Mozzie Smith in his rookie year. Now, Mozzie Smith had a better year because Zimmer was looking for a different type of defensive tackle. He was looking for him to do more naturally what he was drafted for. So, we still need to figure out this coaching situation in order to get down to the type of players we're going to pick. But, like I said, I feel like the Cowboys need to come out with an explosive running back, an explosive wide receiver, and something on the defensive interior. Now, that could change. If you tell me at the start of free agency that the Cowboys re-signed Osa Odighizuwa and they re-signed Chauncey Golston, and they re-signed Carl Lawson. Well, now I'm probably thinking a little bit differently with Sam Williams coming back, especially since he's tore his ACL in camp. And then you still have Michael Parsons who's going to be playing the edge. You add that to that room, and now I'm kind of probably putting that a little bit more down my list. Still doesn't mean that I won't spend a resource there, but maybe I spend, a late third on an edge as opposed to an interior guy, because, okay, you still got Osa there and then you still got Mozzie there. But wide receiver, running back, I don't think that changes for me no matter what. Now, the good thing is with running back, you don't necessarily have to go in the first round. You probably don't even have to go in the second round. You can start looking at turning in that card in about the third round. So the Cowboys do have some time there, and that means now you can take your first round pick and use it in a different position. So for my money, if I was looking at the Cowboys, holes, look at that wide receiver position for your first round pick. Because wide receiver apparently, I listened to the draft show, DallasCowboys.com. I've only watched maybe about 2 or 3 of these young guys so far. But as we go here, I'm gonna try to get to last year. I didn't have this podcast last year, but last year I probably watched about a good 50. This year I want to make sure to get well over 100. So, as we go here, I'll have quite a few people that I watched well over 100. If I get to 150, that means I'll be watching players that are probably going to be drafted within the first 4 to 5 rounds of the draft. That should give us a pretty good idea of what's going on. But it looks like apparently running back is going to stretch pretty far this draft. And so you can probably take a look at that more on day 3, on day 2 late. Day 1 of the draft, first round, day 2, second and third, day 3, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, right? So you can take a look at that day 2, day 3. But you can make sure that you come out of here with an explosive wide receiver, or if you see an explosive 3 technique or an explosive 1 technique. I think offensive line actually looks pretty okay. This offseason, the quarterback is not going to be moved or touched at all, so just get that out of your mind. Dak Prescott's the guy. So that's where I would pretty much go. But hopefully we get some coaching news here soon, because the Dallas Cowboys are irking my nerves what they're doing. It doesn't mean that you have to rush to hire. It's just they went from interviewing some decent candidates like Robert Saleh, and then also Kellen Moore, things like that, to now we're not even bringing Aaron Glenn in, and we're going to Brian Schottenheimer, and we're going to Jason Witten, and Dion's off the table. It's just, it's a highly combustible situation. We'll see what happens, but I'll be here to bring it to all you guys. But thank you so much for tuning in. You can follow me on Twitter at JMillerIYL. That's JMiller if you like. You can also hit me up at knockersdownthebottom@outlook.com. Again, knockersdownthebottom@outlook.com. You can also hit me up at knockersdownthebottom@gmail.com. Hit me up with any questions that you want in the comments below. I'll take them there. I'll take them via Twitter. I'll take them via email. Put them into a mailbag. Make it a formal segment. But hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. When we get to 100, we'll do another giveaway. But thank you guys so much for tuning in. Until next time, I'm your host, J Mill if you like. This has been Knockers on the Bottom. Peace.